Dog training, basic approaches and recommendations. The formation of a dog's character begins long before the first training sessions. It is early education that helps lay the foundations for the correct behavior of the pet, both in everyday life and in stressful situations. Cynologists claim that raising a dog is not limited to the training stage. This process continues throughout the animal's life, reinforcing acquired skills and supporting the desired behavior. It is worth starting to raise a puppy immediately after its appearance in the house. This will significantly facilitate further stages of training. First steps in education. Motivation as a basis. An important element of training is motivation. At the first stages, the best incentives for a puppy are treats and favorite toys. However, you should not expect the dog to immediately understand the relationship between the right action and the reward. This skill requires time and repetition. The principle is simple. Correct behavior is always rewarded. Unwanted actions are ignored. Puppies typically learn this routine within 4 to 6 months, while adult dogs may take more than a year. Taking the breed into account when training breed characteristics play a key role in choosing training methods and approaches. For example, herding, hunting, and service breeds are easier to train due to their genetic predisposition to interact with humans. Dogs of these breeds are happy to repeat the exercises, but require emotional support. The owner should encourage the pet not only with treats, but also with praise. Without this, the process can become boring for the animal. Characteristics of terriers are independent and stubborn, but their activity and playfulness make the training process exciting. It is enough to interest the pet with a toy to achieve success. Physical punishment in this case is useless and can cause resistance. Ornamental breed small dogs, contrary to popular belief, are easy to train. They need more time to learn commands, but this is justified by their safety on walks and comfortable interaction with the owner. Aboriginal breeds. Aboriginal breed dogs are more difficult to train. Their independence and weak genetic attachment to humans require a special approach. Using tasty treats and respecting their natural instincts helps establish partnerships with such pets. Dog training, goals and basic principles. Dog training is not only aimed at developing a set of useful skills. Its key task is to establish a strong emotional connection with the pet and gain its respect so that the dog recognizes its owner as a leader. Dogs, as pack animals, have a natural tendency to obey a leader, but to do so they must see a human as an authority figure. It is the owner who must assume this role, demonstrating confidence and consistency. Consistency as the basis of education. One of the main principles of education is the immutability of the rules. If they are constantly changed, the puppy will not be able to understand what is allowed and what is prohibited. Even an adult dog needs to adhere to the established norms, deviating from them only in exceptional cases. Predictability of the owner's behavior helps the pet feel confident. Ensuring security puppies, when exploring the world around them, often come into contact with objects that may be dangerous. Therefore, it is important. Remove household chemicals, sharp and fragile items, as well as wires from the accessible area. Organize a safe space for play and relaxation. In addition, you should determine a permanent place for feeding and sleeping in advance. Food should be served at the same time, and the bowl with food should be removed 10 to 15 minutes after the start of feeding to develop the habit of eating on time in the pet. Water should always be freely available. For a comfortable rest, it is better to make a bed for a small puppy next to you. This will help him adapt faster and feel safe. Intonation and interaction. Dogs understand their owner's mood from their voice from an early age. Therefore, it is important to talk to your pet. This strengthens your bond. However, there is no need to shout, even if the puppy did something wrong. Dissatisfaction should be expressed in a calm but clear voice. Loud screams can be frightening to a puppy, causing stress, and he may not understand why he is being scolded. If screams become habitual, they may cease to have any effect. Punishments and rewards. Punishments are part of the training process, but it is important to use them wisely. They should not turn into cruelty. The dog responds better to the expectation of a reward than to the fear of punishment. A clear system of praise and fair restrictions help to form correct behavioral habits in your pet, strengthening your relationship. Parenting by force. Why it's an ineffective approach. When a pet starts pulling on the leash, barking loudly, or damaging furniture, even the most patient owner may feel the urge to use force. At first glance, it seems that training through fear of punishment is a time-tested method. However, this approach has many disadvantages and limitations. The essence of the theory of force education. In the mid-20th century, dominance theory gained popularity among zoologists. It was based on the idea that a dog would instinctively strive to take the role of pack leader, and a human would have to prove his superiority by force. This behavior was considered analogous to the relationships in wolf packs. However, the initial studies that formed the basis of the theory turned out to be far from reality. The first conclusions about the hierarchy of animals were made by the Norwegian scientist Thorleif Schjelderup Ebbe, studying chickens. Later, wolves in captivity were studied by Rudolf Schenkel and David Mech, who also observed the struggle for leadership. But after 12 years of observing wolves in their natural environment, Mech revised his findings. He concluded that relationships within a pack were much more complex, more like family relationships than military ones. This discovery overturned many of the tenets of dominance theory. Problems of education through punishment. The fear and punishment method does not cope well with the main tasks of dog training. The cause of the unwanted behavior is not eliminated. For a dog, barking, chewing, or other unacceptable behavior may be completely natural. The dog often does not understand why it is being punished. Stress and fear reduce learning ability. A pet that is constantly in a state of anxiety becomes less receptive to learning, does not show initiative, and loses interest in interaction through play. There is no guarantee of a long-term result. If the dog gets used to punishment, then the habituation effect kicks in, and increasing cruelty can lead to aggression or tragic consequences. Why rewards work better? Modern research conducted by scientists from Israel and Great Britain confirms that positive reinforcement is a more effective approach. This method allows you to form the correct behavior, maintaining trust and affection between the dog and the owner. Education through stimulation of correct actions helps the pet better understand what is required of it, strengthens the emotional bond between the animal and the owner, allows the dog to see the owner as an authoritative leader, establishing contact and attachment. In order for a pet to accept its owner as a leader, it is not enough to simply set restrictions. It is important to create a trusting relationship based on care, attention, and patience. Attachment cannot be formed through pain, only through respect and interaction. To do this, the owner needs to develop a theoretical base about dog behavior and be persistent. This approach will allow you to raise not only an obedient pet, but also a devoted friend. Basic principles of dog training: how to achieve obedience. Dog training should be consistent and meaningful. The same approaches should be used for pets that are just beginning to learn commands and for those who, for some reason, do not perform them in certain conditions. These tips will help make the training process easier and the result more sustainable. Don't raise your voice. Many breeds perceive emotionality as weakness. Instead of pushing away a dog that has jumped on you, say a firm no or use a pre-agreed command. If your pet has calmed down, praise it and give it a treat. Your dog depends on your attention, so don't deprive it of attention for unwanted behavior. Increase food motivation. It is better to train your dog when it is slightly hungry. For example, you can skip one feeding if your pet refuses to train. This method is often used with aboriginal breeds such as huskies or terriers, which are known for their stubbornness. Be persistent. If your dog is being stubborn, it is important to be patient and persistent in breaking his resistance. However, use moderation and common sense. Consistency is the key to success. Set clear rules and stick to them. If your dog is allowed to jump on the couch today and not tomorrow, he will be confused. Master new material gradually. Move on to new commands only after the previous ones have been mastered. During classes, game breaks are allowed, but after them, return to the exercises. Avoid punishing mistakes. Dogs do not understand the cause and effect relationship between mistakes and punishment. If a command is performed incorrectly, simply return the pet to the starting position and repeat the exercise. Praise before the treat. Let praise become a marker of correct behavior for the dog. This way, the pet will begin to associate words of approval with encouragement. Use short commands and concise gestures. Don't complicate training with long phrases or unnecessarily complex gestures so as not to confuse the dog. Set aside time for training every day, ideally 5 to 10 minutes of training, then a play break, and then another session. Active games are especially important for puppies and teenagers. Start with basic commands. Commands such as sit, come, stay, and lie down should be mastered first. They will be useful for further training and will make the training more effective. Train in a calm environment. Start training at home, where there are no distractions. Then move on to more active places. Parks, dog parks. Don't rush. Consider your pet's age, character, and abilities. For example, a 3-month-old puppy won't be able to perform complex endurance exercises. If the dog makes a mistake, return to simpler tasks. Work at short distances. To practice the come to me command, start at a distance of 2 to 3 steps. This will help maintain contact with your pet. Reward immediately. The reward should follow immediately after the command is completed. If you are late, the dog may not understand what it was rewarded for or associate the reward with another action. Finish the training session on a positive note. Training should not make the dog feel tired. Finish the training session by performing a favorite command to leave your pet with positive emotions. By following these guidelines, you can raise an obedient and happy pet. But the main thing is to always maintain a reasonable approach and common sense. Is it possible to retrain a dog? Retraining a dog is a complex process, often even more labor-intensive than training from scratch. However, it is still possible to correct unwanted behavior. The key to success is to create an environment that does not provoke your pet to make mistakes. Dog pulls on leash while walking. Most often, leash pulling is associated with attention control problems. It is easy to determine. If the dog rarely looks back at the owner or does not do it at all, this is the problem. To correct the behavior, start walking your dog in a straight line, calling him every time he tries to deviate to the side. When he responds correctly, say a firm yes and reward him with a treat. After a few days, your pet will start coming to you on his own without an additional signal. If the dog continues to resist, change the direction of movement. It will have to adapt to the changes. As soon as it is level with you, say yes again and give it a treat. Keep in mind that this type of training will require a lot of treats. To avoid overfeeding, you can use part of the daily ration, such as breakfast or dinner. Puppies are easier to train for a proper walk. They instinctively try to stay close to their owner, feeling safe. If you reward them from an early age for calm behavior near your leg, this habit will continue into adulthood. The dog barks at passers-by. Barking at passers-by usually starts from a certain distance. For example, from 4 meters. To correct this, try to start training from a greater distance, 8 to 10 meters. Wait until the dog notices the stranger and focuses on him. Use a cue word such as yes to draw attention to yourself. If your dog looks at you, reward him with a treat right away. If there is no result from the given distance, increase the distance, for example, to 15 meters, and repeat the exercise. Praise the dog for calm behavior from the first walks. This will avoid the need for retraining in the future. The dog bites. If an adult dog is showing aggression, it is difficult to cope with the problem on your own. It is better to contact a dog trainer. With puppies, the situation is simpler. If the puppy bites out of excitement, stop the game, freeze in place, and offer a toy. It is important to start training in such situations before the animal grows up and its bites become dangerous. An adult dog that bites during play requires professional help. The dog ruins things. Puppies often chew on furniture or other objects due to teething or boredom. In such cases, special toys, such as stuffed Kongs or tug-of-war, can help. Another reason may be anxiety. Regular and longer walks with active games will help to cope with the problem. If the puppy is afraid to be left alone, do not aggravate the stress with long goodbyes. The dog is disobedient. Even well-behaved dogs sometimes ignore commands. In order for your pet to understand that its behavior is unacceptable, you need to immediately give a signal, for example, with a stern voice. It is important for the dog to understand the connection between its actions and your reaction. To establish a bond with your pet, spend more time together. Research shows that 15 minutes of mental interaction with a dog is equivalent to an hour and a half of active walking. Play motivation for puppies is sometimes more effective than food. The puppy should always have toys to redirect attention from unwanted behavior. The impact of nutrition and health. Sometimes disobedience is associated with a lack of nutrients, pain, or illness. Regular visits to the vet and a balanced diet help solve many problems. For example, AGO food, selected taking into account the age, size, and characteristics of the pet, will provide it with all the necessary elements. If your dog is healthy and there is no progress in training, contact a dog trainer. A professional has more tools to work with a dog.